In the Fiery XF 7.0 e-learning course, Server 101, Setting Job Layout Defaults, you learned how to configure a workflow to produce nesting layouts automatically. Now you can also create nesting jobs manually. To produce a manual nested job, you have two options available. First, if you import a series of files, you have the option in the Import Files dialog window to select the Nest All Jobs option. If you do, your Fiery system will automatically bring all the selected files into a nesting layout. The second method of manual nesting is to nest jobs together that have already been imported into your job list. To perform this task, you can shift-click to select a series of jobs, or control-click to select individual jobs that you wish to nest together. Once you have selected the desired jobs, you can right-click and select New Nesting, or click on the New Nesting icon in the upper toolbar. Note that in order to create a nesting from already imported jobs, the jobs have to have been imported into the same workflow for the same printer. Also, you cannot include in a manual nesting a job that you have already configured for step and repeat or tiling, nor can you include an existing nesting job. If the jobs that you want to combine into a nesting have been assigned to different workflows or assigned to different media, after you choose to create the nesting, a window will appear where you can enter a new name for the nesting and select which workflow and which media you want to use for all of the jobs in the nesting. Once a nesting has been created, you can right-click on it in the job list and select Rename. By default, any nesting job will simply be named Nesting. Double-click on a nesting job and it will be opened in the job editor. If you have imported a multi-page PDF file, all of the pages will be laid out in the nesting. You can select an individual page in the nesting and reposition it on your media. You can scale a job using the Transform tool, or enter specific values in the scale boxes. You can deselect the link icon in the scale area to apply variable scaling to your job. You can rotate a job in 90-degree increments, flip it horizontally or vertically, or apply margins. Now, margins differ from spacing. Modifying the values in the spacing boxes will change the spacing between all of the adjacent jobs in the entire nesting. If you have a job selected in your layout and modify the margins, it will add additional spacing around that single job, as indicated by the gray area around the job. If you do not have any job selected in your layout and you modify the margins, you will move your nesting farther away from the top, bottom, left, or right edges of the media. This is often done to keep images away from the edges of media that might have been damaged. After you make any modifications, right-click in the blank area of your layout and select Update Layout. Or on the nesting pane, simply click Apply. Switching to the Crop tool, you can also crop any job. Right-click on any job, and you can copy and paste it, delete it, or lock the job, which ensures that it cannot be cropped or scaled or repositioned. You can also select specific scaling or fit to options. If you copy and paste a job, each job can be independently scaled or cropped. You can also make color adjustments to individual jobs. Copies of an original job will be treated as the same as the original job as seen here. If a modification is made to one copy, the same modification will be applied to all of the copies and to the original. Any additional jobs that have been imported are not affected by the color adjustment. You can also modify the source profiles assigned to any particular job individually, but not to copies of the job. After you have finished sizing and scaling each of your images, you can right-click in the media area and, again, select Update Layout. Your Fiery system will create the most efficient layout that it can based on the rules that you have defined. Another option available if you right-click in the media area of the nest is Child Jobs. Selecting this option will open a window which will list each of the jobs that have been brought into the nest. If you have a long list of jobs in your nesting, it will likely be easier to scroll down a list of names in the Child Jobs window to locate and select for editing the specific file rather than visually searching all of the placed images, especially if many of them look the same, having only slight differences. You can select any of the child jobs and click the delete icon to remove it from the nest. If you delete a job that you have duplicated using cut and paste, all of the duplicates will also be deleted. Now here I have another nesting that contains a multi-page PDF file in the job. If I select one of the pages on the multi-page PDF file and right-click, I can select Job Details. Here, you can deselect any individual page that you do not wish to include in the nest. Click OK when finished and then close the Job Details window. Notice that the deselected pages for the PDF file are now no longer part of the nest. The individual pages in the PDF file can be independently scaled and cropped. When finished, once again right-click and select Update Layout, and your Fiery system will optimize the layout of the nest. Back in our original nesting layout, and with media consumption selected for optimization, your system will make the best use of the media that it can, but it may make trimming out final jobs a little more difficult. Select Cut Edges Horizontally and update the layout, and you can see that the elements have now been arranged in rows. Select Cut Edges Vertically, and images will be laid out in columns. Either of these options will make trimming much easier, but it will use more media. If you select the Uniform Scaling checkbox, you can enter values, click Apply, and all of the elements will now fit within the dimensions you set using fixed scaling. You can modify the spacing between each job both vertically and horizontally. Clicking on the Child Jobs button is another method to bring up the Child's Job window. When you finish designing your layout, you can click the Save button and close the Job Editor. If you double-click on the nesting, it will open back in Job Editor, and you can continue performing edits. Back in the job list, you can drag and drop any additional jobs from the list into an existing nesting. New nesting jobs can also be created from an individual job, which you can bring into the Job Editor. And make multiple copies of the original image. Here, you can apply different cropping and scaling to each of the duplicates. This is different than applying the Step and Repeat feature to an image. If you apply Step and Repeat, you can no longer crop or scale either the original or any of the duplicate images. But if you use the nesting feature, you have complete control over the individual images. You can also create a nesting from a single multi-page PDF file. If you do, all of the pages of the PDF file will be laid out to be printed on a single nest and a single sheet of media. Finally, it is not required that you bring any nesting into Job Editor to apply your layout. Simply select the option to process and print the job, Simply select the options to process and to print the nesting job, and your Fiery system will apply your default nesting settings to the layout, process, and print the nest. This completes this module.